Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I want to show y'all how to make a kind of a modified herringbone design of a wire wrapped ring using our Groovy cabs, which there are links down in the video description to all the different tools and materials that we're using, as well to our website, backtoearthcreations.com. Sorry, Callie wants outside and we have bells on the door because she has us trained that when she rings the bell, so I'll be right back. Okay, I have returned from my servitude to my feline overlord. On our website, backtoearthcreations.com, where we sell our Groovy cabs that, actually we just sell our traditional style of cabs, but on any of the cabs that are suitable, we have an option where you can select to have a groove added for a small upcharge, and we go through with a diamond crusted bit and add in this little notch all the way around that makes it possible to make some really cool looking jewelry without having to have, I'm not going to say you don't have to have a whole lot of skill with wire wrapping, because I mean it always helps to practice and get some skills up, but it turns a lot of projects into something that's much more approachable to, let's say a beginner or somebody who, maybe you feel like you're all thumbs or you just want an easy project. I feel like Groovy cabs are just the thing for that. So for in this ring design, where'd it go? We have a couple of options. I wanted to show you these variations where I am using some half round. This was 20 gauge half round wire from parawire.com, but I'm not going to be hitting on that today. If y'all would like a tutorial about that, let me know down in the comments. And sorry, it's raining outside, so now the cat's looking at me through the window. Let me know down in the comments if you would like for us to cover using the half round wire in conjunction. But I wanted to make this tutorial very beginner friendly, so all you need wire wise is 20 gauge wire. Today I'm working with a bare copper, but you could use whatever kind of finish that you like, and I'm going to be pulling off two lengths of about anywhere between like 18 to 24 inches, so about 2 feet. Parawire certainly is affordable enough that you can, give yourself a few inches extra to work with, because you might want to get super creative with it or something. So just pulling off equal lengths. Now, other than a ring mandrel or something about the size of the finger that you want the ring to fit, you will need wire snips. Bent nose pliers I find come in very handy, and you could want some round nose pliers if you want to add some spirals or different things, but for the most part you just need your hands, these two pliers, and a ring mandrel or something that serves as a ring mandrel. Okay, so oh yeah, and a Groovy cab, and I think today I'm going to be using this guy, and I'm going to show you some variations at the end as well using different sized cabs, but we'll get there when we get there. So we're going to find roughly about the center of our wire, and I'm going to come in here and put one wire on either side of our Groovy cab in the groove. Let me actually tidy up my background in desperate hopes that my camera will focus. And so here you can kind of see how that is trapped, and then if you open it, it almost makes like a little almond shape, like a little raw eye or something. There we go. Speaking of days whenever you feel like you're all thumbs. So we're gonna have our cab suspended in the wire very much like this initially, and you can see I have it opposite over here. Like this wire, our top wire is going over, whereas over here it's going under, and vice versa with our bottom wire. So I'm going to start by just holding the cab, and I'm going to come in here and do what I call a twist tie twist, just like that. Oh, that's so blurry. There we go. And you'll want to do, I'd recommend at least 3 twists. Sorry, the wire does, there's a lot of wire here, so it is tangling on my tripod and snags on everything. But you'll want to do at least 3 twists to get it very, so there's no movement. And then over here, now if you wanted to go through and use the half round wire, I would have started by having the half round wire wrapped around both of these lengths for the full length of what we'd need for the ring shank. Again, we'll go into better detail on that in a separate tutorial, but this part would have been the wrapped with half round. And also if you wanted to do some weaving, that is where we would do the wire weaving. We can address that in a tutorial too if you'd like. Be sure to let me know. And so now coming off this way, I'm going to try to stay in line. That's a design preference. I like my rings to be centered up for the most part. You could have it be very offset to one side if you wanted it to, you know, it's a design element, not something structural. So if you're off center, it's not the end of the world. And I'm going to start a little loose. You can kind of see there we have some space on either side of our cab, because now that we've done that first twist, I'm going to do a second just to make sure that there's not a ton of movement. And now I'm going to come in and grip right there on the twisting with my pliers. And I'm actually holding onto the cab, making sure that my wire is as nestled up and ready to settle into that groove as possible. And then I'm just going to twist with my pliers. I get a much better grip with them than what I do with my human fingers. And then I'm going to come around to the other side and do that same thing. And you don't have to get a full rotation. You just want to make it so that there's like not a bunch of space there. And be careful because this is soft wire, and if you go too hard, you can make the wire cut through itself. So now from here, we will continue twisting just with our hands or your pliers, whichever, whatever your preference is. I'm gonna try to figure out how to do this without tangling on the tripod. But yeah, just coming in, twist, 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 trying to stay nice and consistent. You don't have to, but you could hammer this. Would give a really cool effect on the twisting. And here's some scrap wire. Let's say I want to make a size 9 ring. So I'm going to take some scrap wire and I'm going to settle this onto our size 9, and I'm just wrapping around a few times so that whenever I remove the ring mandrel, I have the loop. And I want to compare the size of my stone, because you can see I have the end of my wire, maybe you can see. This is the end of my wire right there. I'm going to line it up with the edge of my cab, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to snip at the other edge of my cab, and this gives me, that's the length roughly of the ring band that I want. And so now I can come in and I can either measure this or I can just use it as the measuring stick, and that's how far I want to either be coiling or weaving or what have you. And I'm gonna stop a little short of the full length just to, we can always add more a little bit easier than taking some away of the twisting that we're doing. So I'm coming in. For good technique on doing the twists, I try to just keep even tension on both sides of the wire. It's easier said than done, and I'm not that worried about it because I kind of like the organic look, but if you want something very meticulous and perfect, practicing your tension is a really good idea. Okay, so this side I went a couple more probably than what I wanted to. Excuse me. But let's see how it goes. I'm going to set that off to the side. And we're making a size 9, so I'm going to set our ring on our ring mandrel. I'll zoom back out for you. And I'm actually going to come in and make sure I have a nice even bend coming off of either side of our cab. If you're working with a smaller cabochon, you may not need as tight of a bend. And so now just wrapping, I don't want to cross them. I'm just wrapping one side and then the other. Whoa, all these scratchy noises. And from here, pushing the ring band nice and tight against the mandrel, I personally really like crossing over the band, but you know, I do that most of the time. Yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it this time. You don't have to, it's just your own preference, really. I just like crossing over it because I feel like it's going to start us off with, whenever we finish wrapping around, it gives us a nice like offset finish. But again, that's more of a style preference than a structural preference. Because at this point, your stone's not going to fall out. So however you bind it off, so long as it doesn't poke you and it looks the way that you want it to, then you did it right. So having that come around, then I'm actually going to take it off the mandrel. That's kind of cumbersome. And I'm just pushing those wires around so that it's framing. So if you can kind of see here how that travels and then bends around and then is coming to this side. So you could bend with your fingernails or just with your fingers. This is a soft enough wire that I can just bend it with my fingers. And then I'm going to take these two ends and put them through the loops of the ring band and kind of wrap it around that way. I don't know if I would recommend this as a design for if it's your very first time wire wrapping. Things might get a little bit muddier, but it's certainly a nice like pre-intermediate ring design. Not exactly beginner, but not, you know, you don't have to be full-on intermediate, you know, either, which nobody can tell you what level you are. It's like there's not like dictated levels of wire wrapping. Like that's not how this works. It's basically, you know, how are you feeling? You know, are you feeling confident in that, yeah, I think I can do this, I'm gonna tackle it, or are you inspired to tackle it? You know, that's really determines what you're ready for more than anything. And so I'm just trying to keep those wires stacked side by side next to each other, and I'm going to bring this around. And again, this wire, this bare copper that I'm using is so soft I didn't even need to do a training bend to like try to get it to land where I wanted it to. Some wires can be a little bit stiffer sometimes, so doing that first bend can be really helpful. I'm just using my fingernails to kind of smush things around, see how I like it, because again, I'm just trying to get it to be nicely framed. And you can see I've smushed it all up with my fingers. That's fine because it straightens back out just as easily. So I like that. Oops, bumping the tripod. And now we could come through and do a second layer next to the first, just like that. We could also start swooping things around. Oh, I really like that. And just do a little loop like that. And then bind it down to the rest of the ring. I think I'm gonna do that. I like that one. And again, there's no right or wrong way to do this, y'all. I cannot emphasize that enough. And we could go through, if this is the opposite of an adjustable ring design. So if you maybe made your ring a little bit larger, yeah, than what you wanted, we can actually come through and kind of vine these two pieces together with our extra wire. And this is going to not just make our band a little bit more substantial, but it's going to take up some of the negative space in there and reduce our ring size. And I'm just traveling both wires side by side to each other. I'm going to do one more. Now I have deviated from what I was originally intending to teach, but hopefully we still have something to teach here. Because from here we can now continue around. I'm going to kind of nestle in right there and just wrap and then come around this other side Straighten that wire out a little bit. And I'm going to bring this on top. And then I'm going to have this finish right there. So that this is, you know, adding another layer to that herringbone weave sort of appearance. Oh man, that came down a little bit more than I wanted it to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unwrap that. At this point, I'm just making it up as I go along. Oh no. We have scrapped the lesson plan, y'all. Oh well. There we go. I like how that brought it much closer to the rest of the bead. So now also we can take it and just kind of smush it. Smush it onto the ring mandrel. I am working on making some of my own clear cabs that I can groove like this so I can paint them with a dragon eye, because I personally think that that would look so cool with a dragon eye. But that's just me. So now from here, oops, do we want to bring that around? We could add some beads if we wanted. Let's see, what would happen if we wanted to like sneak through the back? Yeah, I'm gonna sneak through like right here with just one of the wires. And then this other one, I think I'm just gonna tuck it. We don't have to snip it yet. We can always decide a little later what we're going to do. But I might have a new image. Oh heck. I'm always putting things away being like, I won't lose it there. I'm a liar. I do lose it there. Okay. So I brought this one through right there. And I'm going to try doing a little... Can I fit one of these 1mm? I've got some like wee bitty beads. It's not quite. I don't know. In today's episode of Will It Fit, we're going to try to put the 20 gauge wire into every single little bead. Will it? Maybe? Oh, it fit a little bit. Oh, heck. Oh, it'll fit through one side of them, but not the other. How rough I say. Okay. I'm going to put that off to the side. And, because really, that's the biggest thing that, ooh, will this one fit? No. The biggest thing that'll determine what wire gauge, oh gosh, it's so close, is, you know, whether or not it'll actually fit into the beads. We have a winner. It fits. Okay. And I put it on the wrong end. Okay, that's fine. But now we have one that fits. So I'm going to start with this 4mm bead that fits really well and just kind of nestle it in right there. Then I kind of wish I had a 3mm, but meh. I'll work with what I've got. So I'm going to do 1, 2, maybe 3 of these 4mm beads. You may have a better bead selection than I do, in which case, oh man, we might just do 4mm all the way across. Y'all, I have to show you this grumpy cat just glaring at me. Hey baby girl, I love you. You're such a good kitty. Okay, she was making eyes at me like she was in a Sarah McLachlan commercial, so I wouldn't let the cat in. So yeah, I think I'm just going to do 3 of the 4mm, and then this precious one of the, I think it's like a 1.5 or 2mm, I don't know, bead. Thread that on there. If I had multiple that would fit, I do have a, oh, there's another one. Will this one fit? We shall see. What a lucky day it would be. Well, nope, it doesn't fit. Okay. Ooh, but you know what we could do? Oh, yeah. Let me see if we have some 28 gauge. Okay, again. Oh, it's all ropey. We have deviated wildly. Let me finish real quick. This one over here that I wanted to show you, that's like same concept of everything that we've done so far, except for getting kind of crazy with it. So we twisted the wire and then we wrapped it around. You can see here I twisted a little bit further than what I had intended, but I think it made for a really cool effect. So let's say if we wanted to stop here, oops, we would come in, and I'm actually going to wrap this just a little bit further. I'm going to snip that short. There we go. And I'm just going to wrap this a little bit further, and while it still has the tail on it, I'm going to smush the heck out of it. Same thing on this side, because cat have mercy. She's just gonna have to ring the bell. She has been on the wrong side of the door all day today. All day. She's like, no, I want to glare at you from the other side of the window. So while we may not have a whole lot of control over what the wire does sometimes, we do have a little bit more control over where we snip it, slightly. So I'm going to snip it to where our ends will be not poking your skin, but also not dragging on, you know, anything past there. So I've snipped it, and you can kind of see now how we can see those loose ends. Well, hey, baby girl. Ow, ow. Yo, look at that. Callie, what are you doing? Sorry. Actually, not sorry. I freaking love that cat. She is so sweet and such a goober, and I'm so glad that I get to share her with you guys. So thank you guys for bearing through the fluffy, ferocious distraction that is my Callie cat. Also, I think I'm bleeding. She really got me on my leg. Oops. Okay, so we've snipped it, and now I'm just kind of doing a smush drag, where I just smush it and then bend it around and try to bend it into place. So now we're going to come in, and at this point we could hammer our wires a little bit more if we wanted. I think this one's going to be, oops, a bit big. Yeah, it's a little loose on me, but I think that'll be okay, and I really love how that one came out. So you could just bind off the ends, as long as there's no little pokey bits. It doesn't have to look tidy and perfect. This one certainly doesn't, but I love it anyways. So sometimes I just let it be what it's going to be. Okay, so now we get to come through with our, do I want to use 28 gauge? 28 gauge is a little thin. Like, it's wonderful for weaving, but it's a little thin for what I think I'd like to do here. So I'm going to whip out, boom, some 26 gauge, which is still pretty thin, but it's pretty substantial in comparison to the 28. And I'm going to make a little spool fart noise. Hey, Kelly. Pull off about 2 feet of this and snip it. And if you don't have any little beads, like if you're in a similar predicament to me and you don't have any more little beads that you can put to fill up that wire, we can come through and just coil. And so I'm just going to come through, coil down that end, use my bent nose pliers to smush. Just make sure there's no little pokey bits and get it all smushed together so it looks nice and even. And at this point, I mean, everything is decorative here, but you could just do whatever inspires you. I know. Do little coils, more beads. You could add seed beads, all sorts of different stuff. Okay, So I'm going to terminate our wire there. Boop, maybe? I'll say a boop. There it goes. The tips of these are starting to get a little worn out. And I'm going to smoosh that down. Because, I mean, especially if you have long hair or something, there's nothing worse than getting your jewelry full-on tangled. But I'm going to take the end of our wire and feed it through that little gap right there. So, whoop, through to the back. I'm going to grip with my pliers. Maybe. We'll see if this works. Okay, this is a good instance to do a training bend. So see how I did that? And now I can pull it and everything nestles in the way that I would like. And I'm just going to bend this around and I'm going to feed it through one more time. Again, we can give it a little bit of a training bend. Yo, I'm just gonna say this is not what I planned, but I'm in love with it. Like, I love this. And now I'm gonna snip, giving myself just like, ooh, about that much, a couple of millimeters. But the idea is to give myself enough that I can, whoops, smush this back around and get that end, that point, that loose wire to end up where I would have maybe not been able to have reached. Oh my goodness, y'all. I love that so much. Let's do more. Let's do more wire wrapping. Okay, so what could we do? Should we leave it here? My inclination is to always be a bit much. But just because I'm not somebody's cup of tea does not mean I was brewed for them. So what's too much for somebody else might be just perfect for me. I think I'm going to leave this here, but I'm going to experiment because we can always come back and snip. Boop, right there. Let me rummage out one of these 4mm beads again. I just want to see if I like something. Because sometimes you don't know till you try it. Sometimes you have to try it a few times before you know for certain. So I've just put that bead on there, and I'm going to come around. I think I love it. And I've made like a little rosette around the bead. And now I think I'm going to do a little rosette. These are our itsy bitsy spirals. In the other direction. Kind of just slowly and carefully pressing the wire around. I'm going to get our pliers in hand and start smushing. Like I'm gripping it and then bending it a little bit closer. That way we can make it a tighter spiral. And then from here, what do I want to do? I think I'm going to do a little curly Q. Close to the tip of the pliers and close to the tip of the wire. Just going to start bending that along. And then from here, I'm going to hold this wire. I guess the cat ran into the house. I'm going to hold our 26 gauge wire just against the cab with my thumb. Get some of this stuff out of the way. And then I'm going to wrap once, twice, thrice, 4 and 5, maybe a 6 and a 7, and an 8 and a 9 and a 10th. Okay, so 10 times we have rotated our 26 gauge wire. I'm really freaking hope. Okay, yeah, I'm in frame. Sorry. I do try to be in frame. Sometimes I do okay, sometimes I do not so great. I am trying my best. Toss that off to the side. We snipped our wire. we're smushing that loose end. Testing for pokey bits. There's a heck of pokey bit. So also don't be afraid to boop, bend that out away from the rest of the piece so that we can actually get in there and do what we need to do, because then we can test for a pokey bit again. And if you're having a hard time, like that's just not being less pokey for me. Don't be afraid to snip it off a little bit shorter and try again. Okay, there we go. Or to just, when in doubt, smush it out. So now we have those 10 coils that should hold that pretty stable in place. And now I'm going to come through and just pick one of these wires. I think maybe this one looks perfect, except for there's not a whole lot of space. Let me pick one of the wires and separate it out enough that we can come through. Mailman's coming through, so dogs are probably going to freak out. Randy's got him upstairs, but that doesn't always mean that they aren't going to lose their ever-loving minds. And so we've wrapped through that wire, and what we're doing here is I'm trying to stabilize this little loop that we've made. So now I almost feel like I'm hand sewing or whip stitching the little loop on. And I'm going to go through again. And now it has occurred to me, we've incorporated a thinner wire. I can now use some of the beads that I wasn't able to utilize earlier. So we've gone around there like that. Oh, this is so off course, but I love it. I do hope that this tutorial is being helpful to y'all. If only to just give you the courage to just try something. Just because it's not what you planned doesn't mean it's not going to be amazing. Or a disaster. And sometimes disasters can be fun. Embrace the disaster. Because there's no such thing as wasted materials and time when you're learning. Okay, so we've done 2 rotations. There we go. And I'm going to do maybe 2 more. Now this 26 gauge that I'm using is bare copper as well, so we may try some liver of sulfur action. Oh, I think that'd be super cool. I am very bad at metalsmithing stuff because I'm so not into following directions. Like I'm trying to not say that I'm incapable of following instructions, because it has happened before. Like I have followed instructions. It's just, man, it does not come naturally to me. That's okay though. I don't even know if I like this. I think I do. Let's keep going. So these 3 little beads that didn't fit, I'm just going to thread on to our wire. They fit perfectly fine on here. And now we can try to maybe, I think I need a 4th one. I hope I have a 4th one. I do. It's the last one in the tray. How fortunate. I'm going to thread that on. And let it slide down the wire. I'll put this away so I don't spill it. And I just want to nestle those little beads right in there. And so I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to thread it just in between some of these wires. Like, I would be hard pressed to ever be able to replicate this piece, because so many of the little details, like where you can thread a bead through or where you can fit a wire, vary. Just, you know, if one thing had happened differently 15 steps ago, I wouldn't have had this spot to be able to fit these beads in. So a lot of it with this tutorial is more of just ideas, or proof of concept, or like core techniques that then hopefully you'll be able to take like colors in a painter's palette and apply to any of your pieces. So now I'd like to stabilize these 4 beads by, I've done 1, 2, no, this will be the 2. This will be the second wrap. I'm wrapping around some of these other wires that were part of our basic herringbone weave. And then just pulling that down. And I'm experiencing a little bit of like wonkiness with it wanting to run up, like and like change location. So I'm gonna push them down into where I want them to be, and then I'm going to stabilize the wire that goes through. Let me see if I look through the camera, I might be able to show you guys. So you can see this right here is the wire that those 4 beads are going on. I have been weaving, like wrapping on the right of that. I'm going to come through onto the left so that I'm snagging it. And then as I pull down, I am hoping to achieve maintaining tension onto that wire without it poking out too bad. It's not too bad. And we can always take it and kind of smush it off to the side a little bit. But yeah, in that way they stay stabilized. And now I'm going to come back through up in the bottom. I'm going to try really hard to not kink that wire as it comes around. Oh, we did it. Sweet. No, I didn't actually accomplish anything. What did I just do? Okay. So I'm going to thread back through and pretend like nothing happened. There we go. So I'm going to double up right there. Yeah, and that way we don't have any wobbling, any wibbling. We can still roll the beads, but that I feel like shouldn't go away because it's kind of fun. So that is nice and stabilized. No little pokey bits, no little snaggy spots that'll get caught on clothing and pull apart. I am going to do, I think, one final, let's push this through and see if we can't stabilize this wire just a little bit more. And what I mean by stabilize is I'd want it to where, if this does get snagged on something, if I do 3 to 5 rotations to kind of like back stitch, things are less likely to lose their tension in the rest of our weaving. At least I've found. It may be redundant or unnecessary, but I'm also having fun, so I think that trumps a lot of that. So I'm just going to come in here, keep things landing where I want them to, and I think that's 3 rotations. Let's go ahead and give her a snip, and I'm going to do that as close to the inside as I can. That way there's no points where that will be coming into contact with your skin, so it should be just fine. Okay, give it a smush for good measure. And now for these 2 right here, these 2 little wires, I think I'm going to try just giving it a snip and a snip. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to smush the heck out of it. And then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to bend it around and I'm going to smush the heck out of it. You'd be surprised how much of my wire wrapping, you may not be surprised. Sometimes I'm surprised by how much of my wire wrapping is just smushed. And again, no little pokey bits. With the bare copper like this, if you do have any pokey bits, you can file them down. You can take it and do a little spiral. Oops, like just a little loop-de-doop. And that way there's no actual little pokey bit hanging loose. It's just a little loop. Yeah, I think I like that. And we have a ring. Definitely a statement piece. But man, I really like this feels like something that I would wear as a mermaid for when I'm just floating dramatically. You know, as the mermaid do. So let's see if we wanted this a little bit looser, like putting through that wire brought this down to around a size 8. So, and I really would like this to maybe add a little bit more of a size 9 for my own wearing. So I'm just going to start tapping. This is a 13-ounce jeweler's hammer. And I'm just we could use the nylon side, but I kind of like that flattened look. You can always hammer more, but it's hard to undo it. So I'm just smushing that down. And that's opened it up just enough for me that I love it. Very cool. Can you imagine if that were like an eye though? That would look so wicked cool. So this is our tutorial. If you guys have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave them down below. I don't think I'm going to be I don't think I'm going to liver of sulfur this today. I may get a big batch of different copper pieces together and liver of sulfur them together and do a video on that. Let me know down in the comments if you'd be interested in something like that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out all the links down in the video description. We do Craft Along Club and we do monthly, oh, that's our monthly subscription. Gosh, brain, come on. We do our monthly subscription kits through the Craft Along Club, but we also do shop updates every Monday. And if you sign up for our newsletter, you get exclusive coupons to that, as well as notifications mailed directly to you, so you don't miss a thing. But yeah, all the info for that is down below. And I'm going to thank you guys again for coming and hanging out. And I will see y'all next time. So until then, happy crafting. Bye. I'll show you the inside too. Yep. I really like that.